I've said 1,000 times that Donald Trump is just not well, and what we just witnessed in the Oval Office might be one of the most unhinged appearances that we have seen from Donald Trump ever since he has been president. And I know that's saying a lot, especially after we saw what they did to Zelensky. They belittled him, they berated him, they screamed at him all in front of the cameras, and I am not joking. We are at that level of deranged with this meeting between Donald Trump and the president of South Africa. So I just want to go ahead and jump right in because we have a lot of clips to look at. And we'll go ahead and start off with this clip where Donald Trump is yet again lashing out at a reporter because he doesn't like the question. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
Refugees here. Can you explain to Americans why it's appropriate to welcome white Afrikaners here when other refugees like Afghans, Venezuelans, Haitians have all had their protected status revoked?
Well, this is a group, NBC, that is truly fake news. They ask a lot of questions in a very pointed way. They're not questions, they're statements. We've had tremendous complaints about Africa, about other countries too, from people. They say there's a lot of bad things going on in Africa, and that's what we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah, so just some more of the same from Donald Trump. Anytime he doesn't like the question, he goes on the attack against the reporter, even though the reporter was really asking a question that probably we all want the answer to, right? You've got Donald Trump and his administration opening the doors for refugees from South Africa as long as they're white, but then you're turning around and you're revoking the temporary protected status of Afghans who fought side by side with us in the war. It makes absolutely no sense. And those aren't the only ones who got their temporary protected status revoked. You got the Haitians, the Venezuelans. Donald Trump is kicking anybody that is not white out of the country. And so I think most Americans would like to know why we have a whites-only policy that is being pushed from the President of the United States. It is absolutely insane. Let's go ahead and move on to this clip where he is suggesting that a white genocide does actually exist in South Africa.
People that feel they're being persecuted and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa. And it's it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that, because I know you don't want that.
So just imagine what is going on here, guys. We've got this conspiracy of a white genocide going on in South Africa, and you have a president of the United States asking the South African president, if you can you just explain this to me? Can we resolve this, guys? Can you tell me why there is a white genocide going on in South Africa? I mean, it is absolutely deranged. There is no white genocide going on in South Africa. Do they have a problem with violence? Yes. Do they have a problem with some farmers being targeted as a result of that violence? Yes. But there is no concerted effort to wipe out white people in South Africa. It is just not true. And now we have a president of the United States living in his conspiracy bubble and is now trying to force others to try to live inside that reality. Let's go ahead and move on to this clip where things just kind of really fall off the rails. Here's Donald Trump just losing his mind when he is asked the question about the plane from Qatar.
A Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You know, you to get out of here. What does this have to do with the Qatar jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are a real, you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing. They also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back, you ought to go back to your studio at NBC, because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from you. Go ahead.
What do you even say to this? Donald Trump is a petulant man-baby who cannot stand the slightest bit of pushback, an adversarial question that he doesn't like, and he loses his mind. Donald Trump is still continuing to lie about this whole Qatar jet thing, or this Qatar plane thing. He is using the Air Force as basically a pass-through entity so he can say that, oh, well, they're just donating the plane to the United States people. They're just giving it to the United States government. No big deal. But then what he doesn't mention here is that he turns around right before his term ends in office, and then he passes that plane off to the presidential library for Donald Trump. So in all reality, it will become the property of Donald Trump. Nobody is buying this nonsense, and he must be a bit sensitive about this because he absolutely lost his mind here when he was asked a very basic question. And then the South African president steps in and said, you know, Donald Trump just needs to slow down and listen.
What would it take for you to be convinced that there's no white genocide in South Africa?
Well, I can answer that for the president. It's for him. No, seriously.
I'd rather have him answer.
Yeah, I'd rather answer that. It will be.
Our president will respond to you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. President.
It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
Look how pissed Donald Trump is. And finally, again, like we've seen over and over and over again, the adult in the room steps in and gives a legitimate answer. You know, Donald Trump continues to push this conspiracy that there is a white genocide going on, and the South African president said, hey, just slow down, just listen to what we've got to say, let us show you the evidence, or the lack thereof, of a white genocide, and Donald Trump is just over here losing his mind. We've lost it. We've lost the plot. The United States is the laughingstock of the world right now. And so how does Donald Trump answer to this very, reasonable argument from the South African president? Oh, let's just see if he can muster a normal response.
But, Mr. President, I must say, we have, wait. We have thousands of stories talking about it.
Sure.
And we have documentaries, we have news stories, and that. Is Natalie here, somebody here to turn that? I could show you a couple of things, and it has to be responded to.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would, and turn the lights down, and just put this on, it's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you.
What are we doing here, folks? Now you've got the President of the United States, who's rounded up a whole bunch of propaganda, I can only assume, and is now sitting there in the Oval Office and making the South African president watch the MAGA propaganda? I mean, what are we doing? The answer is very clear. There is no white genocide going on in South Africa. Nobody has ever provided a shred of evidence that that is actually the case. But because Donald Trump can never stand to be wrong, because he lives in a conspiracy bubble that is weaved full of lies, this is what we get. A president of the United States just degrading the image of the United States on the world stage every single time we are here. It is unbelievable. It is shocking. And he goes on to present a stack just full of propaganda articles, I assume, of all of these people who have supposedly died as part of this white genocide.
Look, these are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death. horrible death. Death, I don't know. To pick anyone, white South Africans are fleeing because of the violence and racist laws. And this is all, I mean, I'll give these to you. So when you say, what would I like to do? I don't know what to do. Look at this. White South African couple say that they were attacked violently. And
President Trump, when will you go and see for yourself if it is indeed true?
well, I could do that. Look, here's burial sites all over the place. These are all white farmers that are being buried. And he asks about a jet that was given. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You know, you are so bad. You're such a bad reporter.
Seriously, Donald Trump is just not well. He is losing his mind. He's losing his grasp on reality. He continues to go attack the reporter as he sits there with a stack of papers printed off from the internet, supposedly, establishing his claim of a white genocide in South Africa as the South African president sits right next to him. I'm almost speechless. I just don't even know what to say at this point. Donald Trump is like a toddler who got his toy taken away from him in the sandbox, and he's throwing a little fit because he just can't stand it. I mean, that is what we are witnessing here. Am I wrong? I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Who looks at this and says, oh yeah, that's our big tough leader. Oh yeah, that's Donald Trump, the leader of the free world. He's doing such a good job. I mean, how do you watch this and say something like that? And that's exactly what we are going to hear from people in the MAGA bubble, right? Oh, did you see Donald Trump? He owned the South African president. He did such a good job, guys. Big, strong. Let's just move on to the next clip. Here he is. Here is the South African president apologizing that he doesn't have a plane to give to Donald Trump.
We need an Air Force One until our Sets Air Force One is being built. 2 of them being built. But Boeing's a little bit late, unfortunately. So why did they give us a plane to the United States Air Force? That's what that idiot talks about after viewing a thing where thousands of people are dead.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I take it. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay. But coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about, and talk about it very calmly. We were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around a table and talk about them.
Well, there are
and this is precisely what we would also like to talk about, including, of course, trade matters, investment matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States.
Those are all, those are all deaths.
Yeah, in many.
I mean, what are we looking at here? We've got Donald Trump. He's sulked over. He's kind of pouting. He grabs his stack of articles and throws them towards the South African president to try to push this claim that there's a white genocide going on. And the president from South Africa, he's actually trying to have a real conversation. Hey, I know you have these beliefs. I know you think that these white people are fleeing my land because they think that there's a white genocide going on, but can't we just sit down and have a reasonable conversation about this? We need to sit down and discuss with one another is what he is trying to say. And Donald Trump is having none of it. His mind has left the room. He's a ghost of himself right now. Because as we know, as Americans, Donald Trump, he can never accept when he is wrong. He can never accept the slightest of pushback. And that is becoming just more abundantly clear each and every day, especially in this second term. And again, it is just one huge embarrassment for our country. It is so embarrassing for a president of the United States to be acting this way with another world leader. I mean, it is just, again, I'm just speechless. Here's one last clip where Donald Trump tries to claim that actually the opposite of apartheid is happening now.
And a fair media exposes things. But we have a very corrupt media. They won't even report this. If this were the other way around, it would be the biggest story. Now, I will say apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest story. That was reported all the time. And this is sort of the opposite of apartheid. What's happening now is never reported. Nobody knows about it. All we know is we're being inundated with people, with white farmers from South Africa.
Nobody's sitting around and writing about the white genocide going on in South Africa because no such thing exists. That is what is going on here. But Donald Trump has convinced himself in this conspiracy theory that he probably got years ago. Now, because he has nobody around him who is actually going to provide sufficient pushback, now we're in the Oval Office discussing this supposed white genocide with the president of South Africa. I mean, even on its face, it doesn't even make sense. If you have a president from South Africa and he's overseeing a genocide, why would you even invite him to the Oval Office in the first place? I mean, that just seems a bit contradictory. And to say that we are being inundated with white farmers from South Africa, I mean, that's just another load of shit. Donald Trump chartered a plane for these white South Afrikaners to come to the United States because he got rid of the temporary protected status, he got rid of the refugee resettlement program, and then he opened up this limited exception for white people from South Africa. Make it make sense, people. I am at a loss for words. We have a president of the United States who just went absolutely nuts in the Oval Office because he didn't like a question about a plane that he was accepting from a Middle East tyrant. And it just devolved into utter chaos. And you've got the South African president sitting there trying to have a reasonable conversation, and Donald Trump is just pouting in his sandbox because he's just so upset. Again, this is Zelensky levels of derangement. Donald Trump is just truly unwell. He has lost his mind. He is unfit to be president. Honestly, this is probably an impeachable offense. Somebody needs to 25th Amendment this guy and get him out of the White House. I mean, he is the true security threat to our nation because he is truly, truly unhinged. So I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We are trying to build something here on the left that adequately pushes back against the right-wing media ecosystem that just launders Donald Trump's bad behavior day in and day out. So if you do like what I do here, please remember to smash that subscribe button. It is free. And if you guys want to see how an ICE raid got just absolutely out of control, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.